Hi everybody, this is going to be a bit of information and some healing using light language and guided multidimensional healing to work through two simultaneous issues which are often connected, that of the twin flame trauma and that of the vanishing twin trauma. So really feel it would be helpful to give you a little bit more information about both, being that I don't know how what your background is in either of these, and most people don't know about vanishing twin syndrome. And then I would like to just allow a channeled healing to come through, whatever that may be. My guides will know ahead of time who's going to be listening to this and what their needs will be. And even when I am giving the information, I will be channeling frequency and healing codes. So it's important that you find a quiet, safe space to where you can listen fully from all parts of your being, have an open heart and be undisturbed and rest. Some people even fall asleep during these. They need to generally be listened to a few times, because sometimes the first time might take you into a deep space where you don't hear the information. It will go to the levels of you that are ready to receive it, and then each time you listen, you will go a level deeper and clear a level more. So it's best to listen to your body about when the best time is to listen, and allow time afterwards to integrate. Drink water as if you have just been ill or had a healing done, as it is a healing. Give yourself the space you would give yourself to recover. And then listen to it again when you have finished processing, maybe in a day or two, maybe in a week or two, when you can get that safe space again. The vanishing twin and the twin flame are very deep soul and physical level and past life level traumas. They're very deep, they're foundational. So if we're shifting foundations, if you think of the base of a pyramid, if you're shifting a foundation, everything on the top of that can crumble down. So just be aware that if you're shifting a foundational trauma, it's going to reorganize other parts of your life. Things are going to clear, things are going to get easier, you're going to see things differently, and people are going to respond to you differently. So really just make sure you're able to give yourself the self-love, the time, the space, and that understand that any changes that come from this are coming from deep changes in you that result in deep changes in your life. Okay, so just take the time to find that space, and then we will talk about what is a twin flame and what is a vanishing twin. There's a lot of information out there about twin flames. A lot of it is quite contradictory. Some of it's very romanticized. My understanding of it is that it's not very romantic at all. It's very, very deep. It's a soul connection like no other. You often come to it after you've already done a lot of self-work, or it can come out of the blue as well, but it's usually after you have done self-work, deepened into self-knowing, arrived at a level where you've had even relationships of a soul level, like a soulmate or a karmic, and it's cleared a lot of past lives, and you're at the point of meeting your mirror, basically. Some people may have done a lot of this work in past lives and have a sudden awakening in this life, or it may even be your twin flame who, in meeting them as they've got to their level of development, triggers your awakening. So twin flames are coming onto this planet at the moment as part of the Ascension process, where they are here to be beacons of unconditional love and to alter relationship structures to divine relationship structures. They also, they are, if you see that all of us came from a divine spark of God, we are all parts of God or the universe or the source. And as it is wanting to experience itself, it's going to do that through all of its divine sparks going out and having experiences and adventures that teach the source about itself and about it can do that, does that through contrast. So your twin flame is you closer to that God spark. So before you incarnated, you came down into, you chose to come down into two bodies. So you have two physical vessels to express your soul essence through. So you are having double the adventures, double the experiences, and they are interacting with each other at the higher levels. They are one, and then they come down into individual bodies, and even at the physical levels, as it's the same soul essence in two bodies. It's completely whole beings in two bodies. They are constantly feeding back to each other in the same way they're feeding back to the source or the divine source as it's having its adventures, and it's being fed back through every in-breath and out-breath of the divine source in every moment. There's a permeation of information and adventures going back, and the source reorganizes that around each individual's experiences and how it then reorganizes them and everything else according to the divine plan. But you are two of those sources. So yes, you are an individual, but yes, you are one at the same time. So this is how you are a spiritual twin. This is a twin flame. And when you have an experience of meeting your twin flame, you may or may not consciously have this experience, but it's happening anyway, is that there is a merging as the soul recognizes itself. So there's a merging of multiple levels of light body as we've come down through the process of being God source all the way down into physical form, which is multiple levels, and we have multiple light bodies existing on different frequencies. So a process is happening even before you meet your twin, as you're working through your clearing through past lives, having experiences with other relationships that are bringing you closer to who you are. And the more you align to who you are, the more you are merging with that other you as such, who is usually the opposite of you, having the opposite experiences. So if you're female, they'll be male. Not necessarily, but at least in the male polarity in their energy. And they will be a mirror of the opposite of what you're learning. So you are each mirroring to each other and bringing in that learning to each other as part of the whole concept of what you as a twin entity are doing, and you each have your individual roles within that twin entity. So as there's merging happening on those levels, there may become a point where you become conscious of it, but whether you do or not, it still brings in this feeling of separation. And the feeling of separation is because your twin is your divine home, so they remind you of what it is to be God, to be in that God vibration at a higher dimension, love, bliss, peace, ecstasy. And if you have that experience at those levels, consciously or unconsciously, the result in the human level is that you feel the opposite of that via the contrast. In the 3D reality, we learn through contrast. So we learn about love through being deprived of love. We learn about trust by experiencing the opposite of trust, which is fear, or mistrust. So what your twin shows you is unity and unconditional love. And they show you that just through their presence, just through their existence, because they are you at that higher level. And as you come more and more in contact at the higher 5D levels and your multidimensional bodies merge, the more it pushes up in your physical reality separation, the feeling of being separate, which is extremely painful. When your experience is of unity, if you've had that experience of unity, even in your energy, it throws you into separation as soon as you become aware of or come in contact with your twin. And then you move through the world with that on that path back to unity, because you have been shown separation. So everything you move through then is about finding your way back to unity, and it will be it will appear in your mind or in your consciousness as a longing for your twin, a longing for home, a longing for unity. It will feel like it's unattainable. At some point in your journey, that's how it will feel. And you will be shown every blockage in your path, because that high vibration of unity has come in, and every blockage in your path to unity will come up for you to work through. It will feel painful and it will be hard work. It can be devastatingly hard work. So one of the things that can come up in that is the vanishing twin. One of the ways that twin flames can come in is vanishing twins, can come into incarnation into this physical vessel. And part of that is to come in together to provide the forerunner, the first twin. There's often a big age gap with the high frequency vibration and support of coming in with them at the soul level, even into a physical body temporarily, to help you to ground here in this denser reality, this denser vibration. And the older you are, the more dense the vibration was when you incarnated. So from that point, the twin is not supposed to come in as your brother and sister. They're just supposed to help you anchor your light. Coming in as two provides greater power, greater frequency to help you come into embodiment. However, and we'll talk a bit about the mechanism of it, but the twin at some point would need to die, and then they will go through the incarnation process again at a later date when they are supposed to incarnate. And this also provides them with a practice run of coming into this density, and then makes it easier for them to embody and incarnate at their point. But when this separation happens, it creates another trauma for both twins, at the soul level, at the past life level for the twin that vanishes, and at this life level for the twin that remains. So, and there are a lot of traumas on all levels: emotional, physical, psychological, especially developmental level as well, and the soul level for the twin that remains, the twin that is birthed. And there are a lot of medical symptoms that you can also see with that. So you can also realize that if the twins are here to bring higher love and unity into the world, and they're supposed to do that by embodying into the opposite of that, and working through all the contrast to what that is in order to master that and transmute it and bring the world behind them into a new form of unity and love, then the vanishing twin is really a perfect trauma to be birthed into, because it is about traumatic separation that comes from unity. So it's also possible that there are vanishing twins out there that are not twin flames, who confuse then the twin flame dynamic with the vanishing twin dynamic, because they are very, very similar. And there, of course, will be twin flames out there who have chosen not to incarnate in that way either, and come into normal pregnancies without the vanishing twin syndrome, and probably were able to come in to environments of a higher vibration. But usually the twin flames will incarnate into difficult families with a lot of karma and ancestral DNA to work through, because that's what they're here for, is to heal these family lines, and to raise the vibration of the planet. And coming in as two brings more of the power and more of the vibration in. So when they do eventually come together and work together as a unity, they're bringing in exponentially more power than any two people working together who are not twin flames. So, the vanishing twin. So basically 1 in every 10 births started out as multiple zygotes and ended in a single baby. Statistics are only really becoming available because of the development of ultrasound. Before ultrasound, we didn't know that there were babies vanishing within the womb, unless they happened later in the pregnancy, and there would be a flattened fetus found as the afterbirth came out. So the statistics are also changing with the increase in IVF therapy, because multiple zygotes are implanted into the womb. And then within the first trimester of pregnancy, it's common for the weaker fetus to die for a variety of reasons. If it occurs within the first 2 months, the partially differentiated cells are absorbed by the twin or the mother. DNA tests have shown that the remaining twin, having absorbed the sibling in the early stages of development, will contain the DNA of both themselves and the twin. So they're essentially a single twin, 2 physical people in one body. So you can see how similar this is to the twin flame, as well as the twin flames merge, and they energetically are two people, but in 2 bodies. So if the death occurs after 3 months of development, the body, more fully developed, becomes flattened and remains whole within the womb until birth. They're both born healthy and appear to all as a non-twin birth, but are likely to have scoliosis and possibly some dermoid cysts or other lumps and bumps depending on the time of absorption. However, spiritually, psychologically and emotionally, there's a profound effect on their lives. So many people don't realise that an infant is fully conscious at birth. They are human in shape, position and structure. In each stage of development, whether it's an embryo, a fetus, a newborn or a child, a human being is whole and complete. They're conscious and capable of experiencing pain and pleasure. They have decision-making capacity even without a nervous system. But along the way, the human embryo undergoes stress and trauma. We develop through certain specific stages which have been well documented in embryology and developmental psychology. Within these stages, there are numerous specific differentiations that occur that give us our individual uniqueness and personality. However, when we experience stress, trauma or shock in any stage of life, especially during the pre- and perinatal period, there can be devastating consequences to our health through the lifespan. So I researched all this information a long time ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago. So somebody called Schmidt in 1977 and Michael Shea have talked about these kind of things from this perspective through their experience of working with patients. So this is taken from an article about womb twins on the Althea Hayton website. Pre- and perinatal psychotherapists maintain that experience of the womb and around birth leaves some kind of impression in the mind of the fetus that remains through life. These impressions are timeless, for there is no sense of time or chronology in the womb. They're formless, for they're formed before cognitive functioning is fully developed. They're confused because there is no context in which they could be understood. They cannot be described as memories exactly, so I've called this mix of vague impressions, feelings, beliefs and attitudes the dream of the womb. It's my belief that the process of self-understanding cannot be complete without some attempt to unravel the details of one's own particular dream of the womb. The reenactment of a fetal mode of being in psychotherapy has been described. That's Ploy, 2006. Until these vague impressions are given some cognitive context, they can only be expressed non-verbally until this is understood. The psychology of the individual is driven by the need to keep the dream alive. These impressions are acted out in relationship in terms of one's sense of self, in various moods and feelings that are unrelated to real situation, and in maladaptive behaviours. Only when the dream is contextualised and fully interpreted in terms of a series of real events taking place in real time does the individual awaken from the dream to the reality of their born life. This effect is particularly noticeable in the womb twin survivor. So it's basically simple words saying that whatever's happened in the womb, the baby is conscious on multiple levels. Their physiology is experiencing it, and their physiology remembers. Their emotions are experiencing it, even though their emotional bodies are developing and their chakras and things are developing. The impression is in all of those. The brain is not fully developed, but there is still a dreamlike experience of it. It's in the DNA, and often your twin is also in your DNA. So all of these things have long-term effects that only can be brought into consciousness through your living experiences of your unconscious impressions and dreamlike remembrances being vibrated into your life to re-experience the traumas of them. This is a trauma of separation that you were not able to fully grieve because you didn't even know consciously that there was somebody to grieve. But you know within you, your body elementals know, your body intelligence knows, your emotional intelligence knows, your spirit knows. And so you attract these experiences into your life which play out in a similar way for you to be able to heal them and move through them. So how does this affect relationship? When two or more embryos develop together in the womb, they're all being hardwired for life in the presence of each other. This is how they can have some vague sense of one another, even in the earliest weeks of pregnancy. If you're a womb twin survivor, then the life and untimely death of your womb twin is in your dream of the womb and constantly reenacted in your life. This imprint of someone else lies somewhere just below the lowest threshold of memory, but I do not believe that it has passed out of sight and out of mind for all time. I have evidence from womb twin survivors themselves that the imprint is always held in mind. It's expressed in the body, mind and spirit of the survivor as a kind of lifelong coded message. The results of preliminary research seem to show that in the 4 areas of paradoxical beliefs, emotional discomfort, searching, self-isolation, there are significant psychological effects on the survivors of a twin or multiple pregnancy. It also seems that simply to discover the reality that lies behind these difficult feelings is therapeutic. Many of the psychological issues that were raised, such as self-harm and relationship difficulties, are widely discussed. It's hoped that the possibility of being a womb twin survivor may be taken into consideration more frequently by the professionals involved in providing therapy and treatment. That's A.M. Hayton, February 2005. The concept of empathic failure, Kohut, 1966, is related to the twin-twin relationship insofar as identical twins do seem to have an extremely empathic relationship with each other that is unspoken and can border on the telepathic. Cole, 2001. An identical twin would define empathic failure as an extreme form of disappointment. Empathic failure is described by some clients as the primary cause of their depression. In this case, it's invariably an intimately related figure, parent, sibling or sexual partner, who has failed to display a sufficient level of empathy, and this has caused great pain to the client. If the pain is related to the loss of a twin, the one person who could provide that level of empathy, then this response would make perfect sense. So how do we move forward from here? Well, the biggest hurdle is overcome when the realization that this has occurred to you. And it usually makes sense to not only the individual but to their friends and family as well. The whole life flashes before you and finally fits into place. There's a sense of having already known on some other level. Only after accepting this occurrence can the grieving finally start. This is a deep process that once again really cannot be understood by those that have not experienced this themselves. And you can say the same about the twin flame. There are many forms of support via healing modalities that access this time period. So craniosacral therapy, Akashic records, psychotherapy, kinesiology, hypnosis. They're numerous. There are many, many ways to do it. But you just find that it really is multi-level. So it's not just one healing session, it's multiple healing sessions on multiple levels, and it will just keep coming up. And you'll realize, oh my gosh, that was Vanishing Twin syndrome as well. It can be 10, 20 years later, you're still working through things saying, oh, I get it, that was Vanishing Twin again. So the most important factor really is the ability, space and time and support to fully grieve. It's a loss of the closest possible relationship available as a human being, which alone makes it profound, but there are also soul and past life issues consolidating, confusing matters further. Each layer of trauma needs to be accepted, allowed its voice, to enable the profound life changes to occur as a result of shifting this foundational trauma. So that's really the basis of it. What are some ways that it can be experienced? Often a vanishing twin and a twin flame too will be highly sensitive light work of souls, and also because of this hard wiring in the womb to be connected so intimately to another being, who often then is also inside your body. There are vanishing twins, and twin flames can be empathic, telepathic, have a lot of psychic gifts, have an unworldly connection, sense of an unworldly connection to someone else, but they feel like that person, they just are out of reach, they can't touch them. Where are they? Have I not met them yet? They can feel misunderstood because you had this understanding at a very deep, multi-dimensional level with somebody else who understood you, and so the contrast of that is that nobody else can understand you. So in the same way, you've been given this experience of unity and then pushed to understand unity through all the ways of separation. This is the same, being understood, being loved, connected. You pushed, it shows you, it highlights all the ways you are not understood and you are not connected. And so you can feel disconnected from other people, and you can feel misunderstood and separate and different. And even if you're not feeling that, you can be constantly searching for your other person or your other half, or have a deep sadness that you just don't understand because you're grieving and you don't understand that you're grieving. You can have a feeling of constant searching causing you to frequently pick up and move on, breaking hearts behind you, because nobody can ever meet that connection that you need because you're hardwired for it. So twin flames are hardwired for it. And once you've reached a certain level of that, you cannot go back to less connection. And you then feel isolated and alone. Sometimes, so vanishing twins can feel guilty for being alive, because and put everyone else's needs before themselves. Everyone else is more important, and this can come from a lack of boundaries, compromised boundaries, because you literally, your boundaries with that twin didn't exist. They were absorbed into your body, or a guilt of being alive when they died, almost like you were responsible for their death, and an anger that they left you. So both can be there. So it's not low self-esteem, putting everyone before you. It's a compromising of boundaries. You might feel duped, let down. Things are not as you expected them to be. You're expecting to be here in a unity, and you're here as a single. You could be really interested in twins and their relationships, and even think that everyone else is as well. You might feel alone even when you're among friends. You might feel restless and unsettled. You might need a lot of personal space. You might feel guilty about succeeding or being better than anybody at something. So there are many ways that can show up in your life, and you can see these are foundational patterns, though. Those beliefs or patterns or emotions, when they're not yet understood, create relationships or even a lack of relationships, a need for solitude, a need to be independent on your own. And also you can even feel like you need to do both your life and the twin that didn't make it, their life as well. So you might find yourself doing double. And they can be different. It's like you're doing two life purposes and they're different. Physically, often there can be scoliosis. There can be little lumps of things in your body that you're not aware of. Sometimes there can even be bits of, like some people have even found a whole fetus in their abdomen, and it was their twin at birth, preserved in there. I mean, if you Google it, there really is a lot. There's a lot more stuff out there now, and there are whole conferences on it if you want to know more. So yes, we want to do some healing now for that. So if you need to take a moment just to digest all of that information, please do. You can just pause the video. If not, just get settled. And you're going to bring some light language through. Ina koko koso koko. We're working on the nervous system in the womb. Oso koko toko choko sotoko poko oto. Asaka kasa taka koko koto poko choko. Ina kakasa toko poko koso toko ko. We're working on embryology. So we are telling the embryo, we're informing it and clearing it and healing it. Work on the developmental psychology and how that affects the personality. We're removing stress, trauma and shock in any stage of life. And connections to others, especially to the twin that didn't come in with you. We're working at the level of DNA. And boundaries and spacing between you and others. The position in the womb, position in life. Asacha sakapataka toko ko sotoko toko kokoto. Asacha sakapataka ko toko pataka kata choboso toko bokoto. Isakakata kasatakabaka toko ko tobo toko cho. Isakataka kaka toko choboko sotoko bokota. Asitako koko toko pataka chokapasataka kaka satakabaka kaka. It's reducing the intensity of the sensitivity to the world around you, so that it's more grounded and more less overwhelming for you. Really feeling big shifts through the throat, the solar plexus, the diaphragm. Anxiety. Singleness. So coming in as a single, all the emotions around that and how that allows, how that informs the system that you are meant to be with another but you're not, which then underlies your human relationships and often leaves you as a single person rather than being a unity or a relationship. Essential to shift for the twin flame dynamic also. Akatoko sitakapaka akoto patakako isakatakaka ko tokochopo ko akatakosopo ko akachoko apatakoko akatakako apatosoko ko ikatakaka okocho isakapataka chokoko tabaka tokopoko takaka tosokopataka akacho sakapataka ko topoko popo akacha sapataka potoko chokopo sotakapitaka ko toko sotapataka chokopo isakataka chupoko tosokotokopataka chokopo sotakapataka tokopokoto isakataka chokopo sotakapataka tokopo sotakapataka chokopo sokotokopotokopitaka pataka pokoto pokotoko chokopasataka asakakata pokoto kopoto sakapataka chokopo sotakapataka potokopoko ikataka satakaka tokoko sotoko chopoko sotakapaka tokopoko ikatoko sotokopataka chokopo sotakapataka tokosotokopataka takataka potokoko. Seeing the Fibonacci spiral of the manifestation of the physical form and the spirit coming into that and coming into physical form. And that all being corrected to the correct blueprint. Heart activation. The grief and shock being removed. Asakataka batoko choposa takapataka toko taka satapaka toko pataka atukopotoko isakataka taka koko taka chopoko toka satapaka kata asakitaka titi takapotoko koko pataka patika taka pataka popo apatasaka pataka poko potoko chopoko sotoko taka pataka satakapaka taka. Seeing the angelic wings bringing peace in. So this is the angelic aspects of the being and the angelic support, bringing in the angel wings, the feathers, the support, the cushioning, the soft landing into the physical body. I'm going to put a painting of my peony there, which is about that, and a painting of my Fibonacci spiral of the soul coming into the physical body. So both of those contain light codes. So if you look at those with an open heart as you're listening to this transmission, and allow the light codes from both to be received by all aspects of your being, thinking of the time as you're incarnating into your mother's womb. Akatakasako poko koko koko toko koko toko chokosa takapakaka. Asakataka kosu itakapoko atapoko. Isakatiko chopoko sitakapaka. Isakataka chopoko sotokopotaka. Isakataka chokoso tokopoko tokopitaka chopoko sotokoko toko koko. Asakataka poko atoko tokopo. Isakataka kotokocho. Imana kamono kotoko manakato amanaka toko chumpundoko sotakapa isakapataka chopoko sotakapataka sotakapako topo chokoko asakatapakoto sokataka chopoko sotokopitaka ka sotokopotokoto isonomo kotoko chopoko sotakapaka sokopotoko asakataka ka satakapoko asatakapatoko sotokopokocho isakataka posokotoko koko sotokopoko tokopotaka pataka tokoko sokopotoko isakataka botoko choko sopoko tokopoko takapasaka topoko poko topopo. It's bringing me to the part where the human being is whole and complete in all the stages of development. Isakataka koko toko koko toko koko toko koko toko where at all levels, even as an egg, there is a consciousness that's experiencing pain and pleasure, a sakatoko and a decision-making capacity. Okoto sokopoto to ko. I'm even feeling how even the egg and the fertilized egg is aware at a higher conscious level of the energy of the country it's residing in, it's being born into. Ika soko kopataka kasa toko chipoko toko hapokoto iko toko sopokoto isokoto boko kosobotokataka toko kotoko toko poko toko sotoboko. And the ley lines and the energies of the planet. Akasatoko toko ko, the chakras in the earth. So I'm feeling now the brain, the cerebral, the neurons and the cerebral cortex all clearing now, as the DNA and the trauma is cleared at the physiological level. It's clearing that absorption for those that absorbed their twin. It's clearing the feeling of absorption. And I feel also to mention that the twin flames, they merge, so they absorb each other from the top all the way down. And when it gets down to the physical level, there is a quantum particle communication between their cells. So we're working that level of differentiation, individuation, and unity all the way through all the levels, right down to the physical. The searching, the not understanding. The searching that happens from that level of not having the information, not understanding what's happening to you. And even that happens after you do become conscious, but you're still working through the levels. Bringing in the knowing that you are whole. And that all is as it was meant to be. And the shock and the trauma has done its part now for you to move through the things that you needed to move through, to line yourself up to unity, understanding, being understood, being met, being loved, loving yourself. Iko ko 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 kapatoko ko takasata bakata. Ina ko 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 of being different. Being unique, but being unique and different in a very special, profound and way that is required by this planet right now. And everything is as it was supposed to be, and that you are doing amazingly. Isakataposo tokopotokoto, isakatapokoto sakatako, isakakasako potokochoposo tokoko, asikatopokoso tokopokota atakapa atasokotopokoko, itakapotokoso atako o inanananako. It's about consciousness. This is bringing your conscious awareness of who you are, all the way through all the multidimensional levels, connecting consciously up to the source, and what you're here for and who you are, and bringing those gifts down into physical reality, those gifts, those tools for you to use in your physical reality now to step forward with confidence, knowing who you are and what you're here for, and using them for that purpose. Akato amono kotokocho ikatopa takaboto pipokoto inakatakasa tokoboku ikotokochoboku asakatoko koko sotokoko. Being able to celebrate your differences instead of feeling wrong somehow, or difference being bad, misunderstood. Celebrating the differences and realizing that contrast is how we learn, and that contrast brings us to unity. Ikotokopo iskapatakata katoko kopotokocho akatoko potokocho sokotoko kokotoko potoko asakataka kotoko chipekatata tokopoko tika ko tokoboto, isakatoko ko toko ko. And it's saying you are the womb twin survivor, not a twinless twin. And there's a really big differentiation between those two ways of describing yourself. Ikakata po asa o. Okay, that feels complete. Please really do look after yourself. Listen to this as many times as you need to. Understand there might be changes in your nervous system. There might be like a recalibration. So it really is important to be gentle and treat yourself almost as if you've had surgery, because it's like you've had surgery at a really deep, profound level of your being. So also if you, like I said, there are many layers to this. So I would recommend that you find some healing to somebody that understands this, that can work with it, that works with experiences in the womb, like rebirthing, but somewhere where you're held by someone else that can hold you at the level required to do this deep work. I'd be very intuitive about who you get to help you with this. Take care, everybody. Much love.